Well, here we are. Christmas episode, Mark. And
Yeah.
we've brought it forward. We brought it earlier because originally our schedule would have had it recording on Christmas Day. And you did send me a WhatsApp to suggest we might record on Christmas Day, which I rejected out of hand. So we brought it forward a day to go from there. But that is you honouring your own excellence by suggesting that that was a possibility, given it was in our schedule. So that just shows how seriously you take this.
Well, there's only one of us that have a life, Stuart, and it's not me.
We both got lives, they're just different.
Yes.
Right. So, so lots of things to talk about today. So on the agenda for today, we've got a couple of things to do. We're going to talk a little bit about some stuff from within the learning center that you have that I've been interested in, particularly around defining excellence and this notion of selfless and selfishness, being selfish to be selfless. And then we're also going to talk about basically do a bit of a recap of our year and a little bit and some stuff we're looking forward to for the next year. So that's kind of our broad agenda for today.
Yes. So where would you like to start?
Well, let's just dive into this notion of excellence. So first and foremost, how do you define excellence, or how under a PDS framing would we refer to this notion of excellence?
Doing and being the best you can with what you have in the present moment.
Yeah, I've used this phrase myself before, and I think I'm pretty certain I learnt it from you. Do the best you can with what you have right here, right now. Am I right in thinking that that is a motto of the Royal Marines, or am I thinking is that the US Marines?
I think there's variables of it all over the world. I never heard of it when I was in the military. Mm-hmm. I started to hear of a version of it, I think, about 15 years ago. So I don't know if it's a newer, or it's always been there in the US and now they're promoting it through social media. So I don't really know. I think, but the principle of whatever the statement is, it can be, and I've seen it with my clients initially, it's sometimes misinterpreted. And the real depth of that as a way of thinking and being is a game changer if you really understand it, what it is and what it is not.
Yeah. Okay. So I think the important thing for me that I kind of was a takeaway from me revisiting this construct, because when we first met, which was beyond 15 years ago, scarily, this was one of the things that really resonated with me. This notion of I'd always associated excellence with being, kind of the people who are at the top of their game, at the kind of elite, the genuinely elite end. And I know elite is used a bit too much, and people are often referring to elite when they're talking about 9-year-olds. No such thing as an elite 9-year-old. But the idea of having, this notion of excellence, but it's self-defined based on your situation and your context. So I wonder if you could just expand on that for a little bit, and then we can start to unpick a little bit about how we would go about defining our own excellence.
Yes, so it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because I would suggest over the last 5 to 10 years through social media, it's been spoken about more than it was before that. And obviously, when we first linked up, it was in golf. So if we look at that as how we shared it on that training within golf, is for a golf player, most of their practice time is unsupervised. It's not with a coach. It's not like rugby, soccer, football, basketball, where most of your practice time is with supervised coach. So it's quite a different process. So getting people to understand actually excellence is where you are now within your present capability, within your level of fatigue, whatever it is right. I'm now looking at all my options. This is where I want to get to. So out of all the options right now, which is the right one for me to choose that I need to choose? And I'm going to commit to it with the level of enthusiasm I would if it's the thing I love doing the most in this moment right now. And it's that point of excellence. It's not about, I'm a bit more fatigued than I was half an hour ago. Oh, it's raining now. Oh, it's something I don't like doing. That's not excellence. You don't pick and choose with excellence. You make a decision based on the need, and you commit to that with enthusiasm based on your present capability, which may not be the same as an hour ago, just because of where you are now. So that's that thing about, if you look at MMA or a boxer, generally, apart from the freaks, and I use a freak word as a compliment, most boxers come the 12th round, 11th, 12th round, won't have the same level of sharpness, speed, agility, reaction as the first round because of the fatigue. But they could still pursue exactly the same level of excellence in the 11th, 12th round as the first round. Now, negative self-talk, false expectations, all of these can be killers to excellence. And the difference between want and need, which we've discussed before. Excellence is based on a need, not a want.
Hence the notion of need-centered coaching. Once we've defined excellence, we base it on that need, not on what people might want. In the moment, people might want something different, but it's always about referencing what your need is in order to maintain your level of excellence.
Yeah, and it's that attitude in that moment to go, I don't want to do this, but I recognize it is the right thing to do. And once you've made that decision, and again, things like the action review process help that, then I'm going to commit to that with the same enthusiasm as the elements I love doing. And that mindset is a game changer for so many people. And if I can link back to my own life, Stuart, the first time I made that connection, you know, when you get those little light bulbs, you go, oh, hang on. Afterwards, it was on the commando course in 1990, and it was January, February, March, my course. And it was, if you remember back to 1990, it was some of the worst weather we'd had for 20 years. And there was things that you needed to do, and they deliberately put you out unsupervised and make sure you're wet, you're tired, you're cold, you've had no sleep for a few days. You know, they really loaded up on you. And it's in those moments when you say, right, I could now, no one's watching, I could just feel sorry for myself and slide into my sleeping bag. No one's here watching. That's an option. Or actually, what I need to do is get out. I've got wet clothes. The wind, it's not raining now, but the wind will help dry me off. I can't use my emergency kit because that's unacceptable. I only use that in emergencies. So I use my wet clothes, and I can put a little bivvy on, a food on, or hot water and have a hot drink. I don't feel like doing that all now, but actually getting out my sleeping bag and I'm wet and I'm cold, but doing that is the right thing to do. Let's go for that. Let's get excited about that and what it's going to give me. It's going to give me a hot drink at the end of it. And actually, if I stand in the wind for longer, I'm going to be drier. I won't feel like that now. Staying in the sleeping bag right now feels a good one to do. And it was that attitude of go, right, let's go for it. And there was a few of them on that course when it started to trigger with me where someone says, right, we're going to do this now. And they trick you, you know. It's like an example is you always, after the Saturday morning of the endurance course test, which you did, the long endurance test with the tunnels you've probably seen on TV, and you've got to get at least 5 to 10 on target at the end. Otherwise, you failed anyway if you're not in the time. But then now and again, they'd one weekend, they said, right, lunchtime, you think, oh, we're off now. And they go, no, on the wagons. And they took us out to the moors, and they just made us dig holes or lay in streams and bivvy up for all the way through Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, Sunday evening. And then at 5 in the morning on Monday, they dropped us back at the sites and go be ready for 7. So all through that, you could feel sorry for yourself, and you go, right, yeah, okay, you want me to go there? I'm going to go there. I'm going to do it. You want me to do that? I'm going to do that. And all of a sudden, you become empowered, and the environment is the same, the situation is the same, what they're putting on you is the same, but your interpretation of it changes your attitude and your experience within it. And that's that point of excellence. It's about excellence. Okay, all of this stuff is going on. What do I need to do now? It's this, right? Well, I'm going to do it with enthusiasm. I'm not going to let my negative self-talk to draw me off to do something I know is not the right choice right now.
So something I heard you say a couple of times there, I've never really thought about this before. So if performance is a behavior rather than an outcome, would you then say that excellence is an attitude or a mindset?
Yeah, it's the mindset comes first and the attitude comes first, but it's the thoughts to action. It's the process of, right, I'm going to set a mindset that's empowering me to commit with action, with enthusiasm to the very need that's the right choice right now. So it's that transition. So if the mind's not right and you're not thinking in the right way and you don't make that mental decision, you're never going to have the enthusiasm as a commitment to the action. So there is a combination of both, but it certainly stems from, am I in a neutral state? Can I now think this through to know, right, I'm going for that. I want to go for it. I am going for it, whatever that choice is.
So excellence, when you define excellence, what you're doing essentially is you're creating the way of articulating that you're going to have an approach to whatever situation you're in, and you're going to maintain that approach. You've used a phrase in the past as well that again stuck with me, which was the every time philosophy. It feels like it's quite closely aligned to that.
Yeah. I mean, every time philosophy is that. It's actually being relentless and patient in your pursuit of excellence, whatever that is to you, but it's not being measured and not being impacted by outcome. So, you might come last in a race, but hey, you pursued excellence. You might come last in a match. You might lose in a match, but you pursued excellence. In business, you might not have got that deal, but you pursued excellence. Now, what can I learn from that? Whether I win in a match or I get the sales, whatever it may be, or I don't get the sales or I lose in a match, doesn't matter. My evaluation should be exactly the same, but it's based on, did I commit 100% to the choice that in the moment with the data I had, I believe was the right choice? Yes, I did. Right. What did I learn from that? New data. Next time I'm going to do this. Or actually, wouldn't change a thing, but I committed and it was the right. It may not have come off, but I wouldn't have changed anything with the data I've got even now. So loads of these are that organically connected. And I'm sure going through the members area, it's reinforcing from years ago is that process about there isn't any one thing in PDS, but there is a principle philosophy and excellence underpins it. But then it's, well, how can I be excellence? How can I be excellence as a leader, as a manager, as a coach, as an athlete? New skill. I'm no good at it. Everyone's expecting me to win and perform high. It makes no difference. Is how can I harness a thought process that allows me to make great judgment and commit 100% and review live? So the excellence and doing and being the best you can with what you have in the present underpins it. The other elements of the tools and the principles allow you to be it, allow you to improve your thinking, your judgment, your action in reflection live, and actually how to understand others. So, and that's back to the action review process.
So again, something I heard you say there was this be excellence. So it's not be excellent, be excellence. So embody excellence.
Yes. Yeah. It's not to do it, it's to be it. So that's that thing of doing and being the best you can with what you have in the present. It's being it, it's doing it. It's right. I'm thinking it. I've got, okay. And I'm committing to that action now. And I'm ingrained in the present. I'm enthusiastic about that present moment, not in the past, not in the future. It's right here and now. The only thing I'm looking at the future is my reference, my lighthouse. Okay, bang, bang, bang. Or my success criteria for what it is now, right? Are the choices I'm making now aligned to my success criteria? So if I put that into a leadership management corporate, same as a one-to-one with an athlete and a coach. If I'm in a one-to-one with somebody and I'm going into a meeting, before I start the meeting, back to that Stephen Covey, begin with the end in mind, I've got to ask myself, what is success for me in this meeting? Or what is success for us in this meeting? But I have to have clarity. But then I've got to say, okay, what's the ideal state for me? What's it look like? How's it feel? Now I'm walking in now. Now I have clear focus. Now I pursue excellence within that because I have my reference.
So interestingly, maybe we're even redefining. So instead of do the best you can with what you have right here now, right now, we might say be the best you can with what you have right here, right now, or in the present.
Well, it's both because it's doing and being the best you can with what you have.
Doing and being.
Yeah. So you can see the doing's the action, the being is the thinking and the state, and they're symbiotic and they will bounce off each other. So you can, as soon as you start, and we've actually a golf last year. In fact, no, it was this year in the summer. There was a player I was working with, and he says, "No, I have committed. Yeah, I'm fine. I never not commit to a shot." And then when I was asking him to record and verbalize the action review pre-shot, And then afterwards, when I started to delve into seek understanding, it was saying, well, yeah, I picked this club, but I know I'm not any good at this club. So but I committed. And I'm saying, so what you're saying is you committed with a negative belief that actually you're going in, but you're never any good at that shot. Well, that's going to impact your behaviors and attitude. So it was that light bulb for that person to go, actually, I may have been doing, but I wasn't being excellence before I started that. I'd already set myself up for failure because I already set my expectation.
So we're nicely navigating into this notion of selflessness and selfishness. So this notion of being the best you can and therefore doing the best you can is an interesting one, because I think what a lot of people might assume, for example, is, you know, they're fatigued getting towards the end of the year, you know, they've had a difficult time, you know, things been really challenging, everything else. I hear a lot of people say this, you know, I'm just can't wait for the break, you know, I need to recharge, you know, I'm sort of crawling to the finishing line, this sort of language I hear all the time. And but a lot of people would probably feel that, you know, when they were sort of in their sort of lowest ebb and they're feeling really fatigued, that they're not able to be excellent. But I think what you would probably say is, no, it's about redefining what excellence looks like given that set of circumstances.
Yeah, 100%. And I'll use the commando as an example again, is when you're on a night navigation or you've done 20 miles on the moor, you know, you're wet, you're cold, you're tired. Your expectation is your excellence now. You're fatigued, you're tired. You know you're not thinking as clearly as you were before when you're in peak condition, when you've had sleep, when you've had pre-nutrition, when you haven't done 20 odd miles in the wet and the sog and you're going damp. But it's, what am I right now? What's the best version of me right now with what I have right now in my physical and my mental, right? What's it feel like? What's it look like? Let me go for that. So it's timeless because it's not based on an outcome capability of you in your best moment ever, or this year or this week. It's what you've got right now, right? What would excellence be like now? What would that look like right now? Well, become that, do that.
Yeah, this notion of it being embodied, I think, is a really interesting idea. So, and this notion of it being timeless, because I was thinking about that. I was thinking that, you know, you want to, it's more about saying, in this present moment, given the circumstances, given my level of fatigue, given my level of nutrition, given my level of energy, given my level of focus, what do I need to be to inhabit, you know, kind of a philosophy of excellence? And can I muster up the energy in order to do that? I was watching something, funnily enough, related to military training, the SEAL training. I think it's called BUDS, isn't it? Basic underwater demolition. And apparently, like what they're saying is that the people who make it through that aren't necessarily the strongest, the fastest, the most athletic, the most physically gifted, or whatever it might be. They're the people who find a way to, you know, at the kind of lowest point, find a way to say, I need to be this way because there are others around me who rely on me to ensure that we can get through this process. And it's that notion of, this takes us towards selflessness, but it's that notion of finding that place inside you. And I think they redefined grit as well as this. It stands for gaining resilience in training. And it's the idea that the training protocol helps individuals to be able to almost reframe this notion of excellence, because it takes them to places that are really quite difficult and challenging. And as a result of that, they find something within them that then gives them that resolve. And it's driven partly by a willingness to sort of support the others on their team.
And that's linking the mental resilience with interdependency, which is quite different to mental resilience and being independent. So if you look at an ultra marathon runner or does the Marathon des Sables, you know, the crazy one in the desert, well, you need to be mental resilient dependently there because you're on your own. You need to self-manage, selfishly go, right, I need to do what I need to do right now because I need to finish this, or it may be, you know, I want to win or top 10 or make a time. But for most people, Formula One teams, businesses, sports teams, organizations, we need to be mental resilience interdependently. The mental resilience of me being the best version of me right now with what I have, and really practice that in every single opportunity in life, not just wait till you get on court or pitch or in a business meeting or in operations. You do that. So special forces do that in practice. That's what you do. Train hard, play easy, which was from a Russian general back in the day that was undefeated in all his battles, but he practiced hard and smart. He built resilience in interdependency within his fighting teams. They knew each other. They knew all the struggles because he put them through struggles. So when they come into battle, there was nothing new. But what they didn't do, they didn't go within themselves. So I've seen it in elite sport, even at the highest level across the world, where athletes aren't interdependently mentally resilient. When things don't go well, they have a breaking point, then they go within themselves. And all of a sudden, they're not listening to their teammates. They're not communicating with the teammates, or they're not realizing my teammates' heads down now. They're not scanning. That option's no longer on now. What can I do to have an effective impact with my athlete now? And in those elements, that's the defining factor between what I've seen the really successful teams and the really successful athletes and business people. They have that ability that even when it's really everything's gone horribly wrong, they're just they're not even feeling their best today for some unknown reason. But what they do is they still scan, they still have empathy for others. They still go, right, what do I need to do right now? If it's a we task or it's a me task. And it's that clarity of purpose in the moment to make the right choice based on, again, what success is in that moment.
So this takes us, I think, nicely to this notion of, so you refer to this idea that in order to be selfless, you need to be selfish. So I wonder if I could get you to expand on that.
Yeah, so the premise is that you need to be both. You can't be one or the other. So selfish would be in any situation of life. So let's start with sport, because it's easy to reference in sport. Is I want to be the best athlete I can be. And even short term in this month, I want to be the one getting picked because I want to play. So what do I need to do to get picked for every single match, to be first on? So I need to go, right, I'm going to nail my sleep. I'm going to nail my nutrition. If I don't understand something on the court or the pitch or wherever it is, I'm going to find out. I'm going to do my own research. If I feel something, I need more time in practice, I'm going to ask coach. I'm going to let them know, coach, can you challenge me a bit more here? Can you put me a hard defense on me now, please? So I need a bit of work on this area because I'm struggling a bit here. I'm doing all of that for me. I'm not doing it for anyone else. I'm doing it for me. That's the selfish side. The selfless is I'm seeing my teammates are struggling with something. I know for us to be successful as a team, I may go, right, do you want to stay another 10 minutes after? I can help you with that. The selfless is, even if we have a culture, and some don't yet, but if we have a culture at elite level or even at any level where we say, if we're playing on a Saturday, I'm going to share the team on the Monday. So we've developed a culture where no one's going to feel sorry for themselves and go, well, I should be playing. We switch straight away. So we go, yeah, I wanted to play. I wanted to be first. The coach has now said why. The coach may have taken us all one-to-ones and explained with honesty why in this game, but be ready. So straight away, my mind switches to now, okay, what can I do to help prepare the team? What can I help to do to prepare the people that are going to go on first? Right, what do you need from me? And my enthusiasm is there. That's me being selfless right now. But I'm always ready. Coach, I'm showing you that irrelevant of what you put on me, I will show you the same enthusiasm in everything I single do. And right now, the team needs me. Team, what do you need? I'll do that. I'll be there for you. And that's an example of the combination of both is so critical for success. Imagine if you're just a selfish and you're going to get, and I've seen it, unfortunately, at all levels, too often, unfortunately, where an athlete wants to get picked. So they're recognizing, oh, there's another player in a position and they're weak on something. And they won't mention the solution to them. They won't say to them, do you want a bit of help on that? I noticed that's why that person's getting around you. They go, I'm not going to tell them that because I want to get picked. Now, any good coach would spot that, and that would be a reason not to pick that person if we're developing the right type culture. We're saying, no, this is about the team. This is about we. If you're recognizing you need to help that player, you need to help them. And that's where the selfish is not good. But also then in a negative way, and I use the example in mountaineering, Stuart, just as a bit of diversity. selfless without selfish can also be ineffective. So that would be, imagine now you're climbing up a mountain and you've noticed that everyone hasn't eaten and they're coming in, and you notice people's feet are wet and they need drying out. So straight away you're going, right, let's get in. Let me cook for you guys. Yeah, take your socks and stuff up. I'll warm them under my hands for you. I'll dry your feet off and get new socks on. And then the time's gone. All of a sudden, go, okay, let's go. I haven't eaten. My feet are now wet. And guess what? A few miles or a few days up the road, I'm the one with gout feet. I'm the one getting frostnip now. I'm the one now collapsing because I didn't take care of myself. So that's an example of selfless on its own is also ineffective in many different situations.
Yeah, that reminded me of my mind immediately went to working with a friend of mine who'd asked me to do some sort of coaching. We just do dog walks together and talk through various challenges that he was facing. And one of the things that emerged from the conversations was his kind of life. Imagine like the sort of the burners on a gas hob. You've got your life burner, and you've got your work burner, and you've got your personal burner, and you've got your relationships burner, your family one, and they're all burning full blast. And eventually something's got to give. And we talked about how you need to sort of, when one is burning a lot stronger, the others need to rebalance slightly. And one of the things that we talked about was he was very hard charging, very focused, very high performance individual. But that was coming at the expense of relationships. It was coming at the expense of well-being. It was coming at the expense of other aspects of life, which meant that his actual performances in his work environment were probably suffering. So one of the things that we reframed was this idea that he needed to be as ruthless almost to a certain extent, and kind of like single-minded about like those areas of his life, because that then would sort of help him to be the best version of himself in those other areas. So like rest, for example, recuperation, time with family, time with friends were valuable because they then helped him recharge, recreate himself, and then he can be a performer at work. The exclusive performance at work was actually creating, meaning he was about 75% effective. Similar construct, really. You almost need to have that notion of taking time away from whatever it is you're focused on, and being quite ruthless about that, and switching it off and saying that's not what I'm going to do, because I'm going to spend time here, not just because it's beneficial for the human. 100% it's beneficial for the human, but the kind of byproduct of that is it actually makes you better then when it comes back to the performance environment. So it's about a reframing.
Yeah, and it was. Sometimes you distinctly remember certain conversations over the decades. And the first time I was challenged to this, and again, people could use different words and selfish and selfless. It's just within PDS, that's how I explain it. But when I left the army in 2006, I had my first business consultancy in 2007. And there was a mix of male and female, senior and middle management. And when we got to the selfish and selfless, and I explained why linked to the excellence, one of the women in the room put them out and says, look, I'm a mother of 2 kids. I disagree. I will put my kids first for everything. My health, everything, my business doesn't matter. It's all about the kids. And it was interesting as a way of looking at it perspective. And I asked them, so, well, who pays the bills for your house, for the clothes, for the warmth, for the protection? Oh, I do. She was a single mother. I said, okay, so if you do not look after yourself to facilitate all those elements that are so important to you to help your kids be happy and safe, what's going to happen to your kids? And you could see her, and it was a longer conversation than that, but you could see her start to go, oh, I haven't thought about it like that before. I hadn't thought about the fact of what, if that's important to me, what do I need to do to be consistent and effective to allow them to be safe and happy? And then it's realizing, oh, yes, I need to make time for me within the elements I need. And I'd say the other element to that, Stuart, is I know on another podcast, I shared my mental health from a teenager. I've suffered from depression, very close to taking my own life a few times over the years. And I found for me, I've got 4 pillars. I call them my pillars of wellness. And I know if I've got at least 3 of them going, I'm in a good place. And it's interesting when I look at them, some of them are totally selfish and some of them are actually totally selfless. So driving fast cars and handling cars, that's the selfish one. I get a buzz from being present and just through corners and, on track days. The connection of knowing where the brake is and the steer and the feeling. So I'm just totally present just in that, not thinking about anything else. Then my rescue dogs, which I'd say they're a bit of both ways, making sure they're happy, they're connected, they get 2 walks a day, and they again give me a place to help me be present. Then my training, exercise, as you know, 5-6 times a week, every single week. I'm there, new target, new goal, off we go, nutrition, sleep, within the parameters of acceptable. I'm not some extreme that only eats chicken and broccoli. So again, that helps invest me because I know in the gym I'm present. I know and also it helps me with my self-image, my self-esteem, pain-free, define the aging process. And then the other element is my job, my work, PDS. And I see that as a selfless as well, because I get the buzz from PDS when I see positive change in people that's impacting others. And I know through experience when I start to drop some of them off, I start to struggle and I start to question the meaning of life and why am I even here? I'm a little dot, so why waste my time? And I think that's a problem with my brain. I think it thinks slightly different than many, which has its strengths, but also if you allow it to think in a certain way, it can take you down a negative spiral. So my 4 pillars of wellness, again, are combined with selfish and selfless to allow me to at peak wellness and performance.
And I imagine with any of these things, there's elements of selfish and selfless in all of them. Like you say, some of those are clearly just stuff that you derive pleasure from, but you're, and that's a way of you kind of like, kind of engaging and being a human being. And then there are other things where, it's, more 50-50. And then there's other things where it's, definitely more selfless. It's more about giving to others. I was thinking as you were talking there about what my pillars of wellness would be. I'm going to have to give that some thought because they wouldn't be dissimilar. Maybe not the exercise but maybe it needs to be there. I don't know. So what I was interested about this was, and I think again this comes back to the Christmas episode, and as a bit of a reframe for me, really. I realized recently, well, there's a few things really, because I've been doing quite a bit of reflection. I was on a selective process recently with an organization where they were sort of looking to take on practitioners to support the work they were doing. And one of the questions they asked was about my history, really. And they asked me to pinpoint moments in my life that were important, or people that were important and had been influential. And I guess ordinarily I'd have probably gone down that sort of more surface level timeline, and I'd have talked about people I'd met, and I probably would have said meeting you and how that was defining, and other people in my history. But I actually went in a very different place, and I talked much more about my kind of life trajectory and the various different ups and downs I'd had, and various other different issues and all those sorts of things. And it made me realize actually what a lot of my drivers are, and what, kind of the direction that I need to head in and the areas I want to focus on, I think, which is helping me to redefine excellence. Because I think I probably lost sight of some of that. And a few of the things that emerged, and this is to do with the fact that, within my childhood, there was a lot of issues around alcoholism and mental health and I had, parents who suffered with both of those things, and that created divorce and all of those different issues. And, I was kind of pretty much on my own from around about the age of about 18, 19, which, you're ostensibly an adult, but I still, it meant that I was sort of pretty much fending for myself in that situation, which is quite a challenge for some people. Particularly if you're not in the forces, for example, and you haven't necessarily got the family around you, you are just making your own way, kind of financing yourself through university and things like that. So I realized that there's a lot of drivers inside me there about supporting people who are on journeys, and helping them with have the resources and the tools to be able to sort of identify who they are and pull from different resources and support. And the other defining moment in that story as well was having had family members or close friends who've gone through really, really difficult periods, and being able to draw upon the training I'd had from you, the PD, some of the things I'd learned in PDS, being able to draw upon some things I'd learned through things like motivational interviewing, being able to draw upon things I'd learned from Jamie Edwards, kind of working with sort of performance athletes and these sorts of things, and actually pulling all those things together to be able to sit and spend time with people who were in real need and utilize my skills in order to do that. But now, here's the revelation, right? I'm massively driven by wanting more people to have access to these kinds of skills, because I believe these tools, these skills, whatever you want to call them, this way of thinking, way of being, is enormously impactful. Not only it's been impactful on my life, but it's enabled me to be impactful on others and to help others, and that's a big driver. And I want to spread the word and have more people access it. But something I've realized is, I haven't been the excellence of myself because I haven't been selfish about it. And when I mean selfish about it, I don't mean to the exclusion of others. I haven't been focusing on myself. I haven't been focusing on my well-being and my pillars, and I don't even know what they are, as I said a minute ago. And because of that, I'm not the best version of myself for those who need me when they need me. And so that's my big kind of takeaway, and the big thing, I guess, for me pushing into 2025, reflecting on the journey I've been on through 2024, is that I need to be a better version of myself. I need to redefine excellence for myself. I need to live it and embody it. And in so doing, and being a little bit selfish sometimes about ensuring that my pillars of wellness are where they are, I can be a better version of myself for the other people who are going to need me going forward.
And it does link back to, I don't know if you've got down into the members resource where I talk about that wellness and performance being symbiotic. I see a lot in business globally and at the highest level in sport that there's a high drive on performance, but wellness is only looked at when a problem has been identified. And I just see that as so behind the times in now we know more about us and people. I think we're more sensitive to understanding, we need to be some consistent investment in people in the workplace to help with their mental health, to help with their mental fitness, if you wanted to call it that, and not health. But actually understanding, look, if we invest every single week, every single day in wellness, we're just going to enhance performance. We're going to have longevity. We're going to have to manage things better. But if we only wait till there's a problem, then go, here's an intervention, we're actually accepting wellness will always be an issue. Now, not to say we can fix it, but actually, are we putting the daily investment in the same way as we want results when we're driving performance? And I think the best people I've worked with are going out their way to go, hey, we will find time. So my business clients, when I do interventions with them, we always do the weekly wellness. And we rotate 3 people in the business every 3 months or so, where there's a new 3 people. And it's a non-negotiable that every week you catch up on those 3. And some of it's on Zoom, some of it's live. If they're global, could be at different countries. And they can't talk about work. They talk about themselves, how they're doing, their wellness, things that they're struggling with. And we've found that within 3 months, 2 things have happened everywhere I've intervened within this. And it's just part of the business interventions. And again, in some of the sports, is people now understand everyone's struggling a little bit with something, but also they're understanding someone's listening to me. And the big one also is they're finding out about people they would never even speak to in the same business. Some have been there 20 years. So I've never had a conversation with you as the person in 20 years. And it's bringing people closer together. So the interdependency in performance is increasing, but also the wellness is improving because the boss has said it's a non-negotiable. We will now. Some people didn't even want to do them initially, and actually, one of the takeaways was it's one of the most impactful things I've done when they reflect on the interventions. Now, how often are we hearing interventions like that are non-negotiables that bosses say, "Hey, we will do this every week, but I can't. I haven't got time." No, well, tell me where you need to make the time. I'll make sure you get it. Plug it in as if it's a formal meeting, and we schedule it and we commit to it.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? How you have to be nowadays in so many aspects of life. You have to be intentional about prioritizing well-being.
Yeah. But I think also we're in a better place now because it is spoken about. And I think only even maybe 10, 20 years ago, someone just hid from it and then it just went sick or they left the business. And it's like, oh, come on. The military used to be full of just man up, was a common saying when someone was struggling. So, we had a lot of suicides. We had a lot of people leaving. There was a lot of depression going on, post-conflicts, so many suicides still. But there is more support now. People are talking about it more. So I know that's an element extreme, but we see that in every business and every sport, especially elite sport, when they've got the hate from the social media, every athlete and player gets from either their supporters or people that don't like them, the managers, the bosses. I mean, I would hate to be in their positions. Kelly Holmes, who I've known for years, she shared a post yesterday and I just put a positive comment on it about Kelly. And I don't normally read the threads. And I looked down, and at least 10 of the comments below mine were hate comments. And you just think, why? Why are you going out your way to post that? And obviously Kelly's got those. Now she replied to me, so she does read them. So having that strength of armor just to dismiss, it's a reality. It's not a good reality, but these things impact on mental health, don't they? They impact on wellness, and it's how we can manage them in our domain, within our excellence. What can we do to be excellence? Where are our interferences? How can we manage that and strategize away from it to allow me to be present, to allow me to be excellence?
Yeah, there's the more I think about it, the more I think the challenges that people are facing, and I still think, though, I mean, having said that, what you said about it's more accepted and more spoken about, I still think there are sections of society, and you're probably alluding to some of them are the ones who are in the hate comments, who see these kinds of conversations and are categorizing that as, oh, this is everything that's wrong with society. Everybody's turning soft. Everybody's, the phrase, woke phrases used. But actually, I think one of the things that you taught me was how initially when you started to talk about, like, you were sort of the early days of bringing through some of the ideas about PDS, which were around enabling individuals to have the wherewithal to be able to handle difficult challenges, and and whenever you're going on a kind of a journey of exploration and development, you're going to have some difficulty. So actually helping people to manage those processes, and how powerful that is, and how that was received by some members of the military as being, you used it, tree hugging, didn't you? Pink and fluffy was the other language that was used, and there's still some significant sections of society that would be very, very uncomfortable. Some of the workplaces I'm involved with now, that's still the case. So. But interestingly, what I like about PDS is you reframe that. So you actually say, no. This isn't this isn't the woolly tree huggy stuff. This is the hard stuff.
Yeah.
And it's this stuff where performance lies, not the other stuff that you think is where performance lies. Yeah. In actual fact, you are suboptimal right here, right now. If you can frame excellence in this way, and you can embody excellence in this way, and then you can be clear in terms of those expectations and the ways that we're going to interact together, as we've talked about on previous episodes, that can be enormously powerful for driving performance in any walk of life.
And we're back to that difference between hardware and software, aren't we? We're back to, we know most of the time in everywhere I've been, hardware is a priority focus in what success is, what we measure, what we invest our time is, what we talk about. But actually, the facilitator of it is the software. But we don't spend anywhere near enough time going, okay, so where are we in our baseline of software? Where are the areas we need focus? How can we develop that? What priority are we going to put on it? How are we going to measure success on it? How are we going to put that as an explicit success criteria that we're going to reference during this practice time or, development time for businesses, whatever it is? And once we can get our head around, software is not soft. Software is the glue. And if you haven't got the glue, none of the hardware will work in connection. So if you often, and I think there hasn't been a time actually so far where I've worked at an elite level, even in business, or in sport, where actually when we start to analyze where things are struggling, the solution has always been, and the problem has always been software, not hardware, every single time. The challenge is one, you need to look for it. Secondly, once you look for it, you've got to identify the source. And then thirdly, you need to know the solutions and act on the solutions to improve that area. And that's where a lot of people fall down. So it's difficult when you don't know. You might know the problem, but you don't know the solution. And then how do I integrate the solution? And I think that's most of my work and effort is around helping people identify it, but then actually helping them stick with the change they said they were going to commit to. Yeah, you're investing in software. Okay, for how long? Right. Well, let's make sure this is, if you say 3 months and we review, it's 3 months. It's not a couple of days, then you ignore it again. And that's where I'm seen as the patient, relentless person that's there going, guys, remind me what you agree. Whether that's in a WhatsApp group, when I have the meetings, when I'm speaking to the mentors that I train up to do what I was doing, remind me what we agreed. Okay, so let's talk about that right now. And they start to realize, wow, that was uncomfortable, but you weren't uncomfortable challenging us. So absolutely not, because it would be unacceptable for me not to challenge you because we pre-agreed it.
Yeah. See, I love that. And actually, interestingly, people talk about this being the software. It's not. I actually am on a personal mission to stop talking about this stuff as like the software and the soft skills. This is the hardware. This is 100% the hardware. Because even that thing that you just talked about there, which is being comfortable, reminding a group, what is it you said that you wanted to achieve? And what is it you said how you needed to be in order to achieve what it is that you wanted to achieve? What was it you said? I'm just going to remind you what you said, and the fact that they said, oh, you're not uncomfortable. Like, a lot of managers would be uncomfortable even holding individuals accountable to things they said they wanted to achieve for themselves. They wouldn't do it. They would avoid it because it'd be a difficult conversation. And the way you reframe that again is to say no, because that'd be unacceptable. It'd be unacceptable for me not to do that. Yeah. I wouldn't be embodying excellence if I did that. So it's absolutely natural and normal for me to do that. And in actual fact, if I wasn't to do that, I would be letting you down and letting everybody down. And that reframing, that's hardware. That is absolutely hardware.
I guess it's always that meaning of, when we hear a word, what do we associate with it? And that's why I've always called it software and not soft skills, because at least you can relate to a computer, right? You've got hardware on a computer, you've got software. Okay, take your software away from your computer. Is your computer going to work? Well, of course not. So, there's no difference for us. But again, when you just say the word and you don't have that conversation of association of meaning, people have an interpretation that might be seen by some as wishy-washy, might be seen as it's not important, all the whatever words people use. But, to be crude, it's ignorance half the time. Just one is, do you really understand what it is? But you're not bothered to find out what it is. You just want to support your own narrative or bias. And we just got to break those barriers down. And we break those barriers down by YouTubes like this, by people actually going, well, even if I don't agree with it, I'm going to find out about it. Actually, I recognize I've got a problem in an organization or a team. Mark or anyone else that does that, come in, have a discussion. I can't commit to anything yet, but let's have a discussion to see if actually there's something that makes sense, that's robust, that we can do something with. And if people are thinking and reflecting on interpretations and happy to challenge their beliefs in these areas that have been embedded sometimes without realizing for decades, then we're getting success. But it's going to take years. And will we ever change everyone? Hard to say. If you look at some of the beliefs when someone says a false news on social media and people just share it and believe it, there's potentially some people that will just not think, is this correct? Is this true? What's my interpretation of this? I've got this belief, but am I open to challenging it? And challenge away. With me, Stuart, I'm more than happy for people to challenge me as aggressively and directly as they want, because at least if you're doing that, we have an interaction. I prefer that than people just nodding and in their head going, don't get this at all, don't agree, and then walk out the room. It's that's not really helpful.
Yeah,
absolutely. And we've experienced both, haven't we, Stuart, even in our journey together. You've seen me challenge people, and you've also seen people who go, oh, that's great, Mark, thank you. And then when I've left, they go, I don't get it. You go, why didn't you ask?
Yeah, I've seen you be extremely patient with people as well, and kind of deal with some of that. And I've seen those same people then walk out, go, "Oh, he's a bit aggressive," and not realise that actually you were just being really, really just quite direct, but also you use the word firm, friendly. It's interesting how people are so uncomfortable with this kind of conversation, because I think often it's difficult, isn't it? Because you're having to sort of hold a mirror up. And
it's new, Stuart. I think that's the other thing, that they haven't experienced that before. But once they've experienced once, and normally that when they have time to reflect a few days later, they go, "Oh, that was really useful." But then a second time, it's going, "Why aren't we doing this anyway? We should be doing this. This is helpful." But it's just that first time when they chuck something out, and the person at the other end goes, "Can you break that down for me? Can you just connect with what we agreed?" And they're like, "What?" "I'm really interested in understanding what prevented you." And they're like, "Hang on a minute, this hasn't happened before. I can normally just get away with a statement or an excuse, and you're not letting me off the hook." So, well, because again, like you've shared, Stuart, there is, if I let you off the hook, I'm the problem right now, because we started a relationship, and this is my part of the relationship right now, to positive reinforcement when I see positive change that you may not see yourself, but also challenge you when you don't commit to what you've said. And I want to find out and explore where the barrier is, what prevented you, because we need to talk about that. So it's never a vent telling off. It's actually, well, hang on, let's find out. Let's find out why that was so great, because we need to repeat that. What was different and made that so effective, but also what prevented you. Both of those are equally as important.
Right. So reflections from 24, looking forward to 25. I've touched on some, but where are you with that?
Well, let's go you first, Stuart, because you've had the biggest change, I think, out the two of us. You've been, I don't know how many years where you've been in an organization within a big picture leadership type role, and this is the first time when you are like the Lone Ranger, if you like. Might have a Tonto on your side right now, but it's kind of, here we go. So how was it for you of that decision? And was there a bit of trepidation, fear, apprehension, or was it, no, I've put it off for so long, this is what I need to do? Or a combination, maybe?
Combination, as always. It's a moment in time, and things emerged in such a way that it enabled me to take this step. But I won't lie that that's been quite destabilizing, in the sense that I have been in organizations. I've been in employment and in organizations and had the day job and the paycheck forever, ever since I first started work. And so to not be in that situation is really quite destabilizing. And it's also made me really question as well, like, what value do I offer? And then I'm having to develop a whole new set of skills as well. Like I'm not particularly good at selling, for example, selling myself, and having to talk about myself in terms of value per day or hour or whatever. So I find that extremely difficult. And then the other thing as well is that the kind of the range of possibility. So there's a range of different people to speak to, and there's a lot of different things. And I've recently discovered that I've got many of the characteristics of somebody who's got ADHD. I've long suspected that I had ADHD, but I didn't know this for sure. I'm probably going to have to get a diagnosis for certain, because one thing I've noticed about myself, and you've probably experienced this with me, is that my brain goes in a million different directions all the time, constantly. So I haven't got the external manifestation of ADHD, which is what I'd always associated it with, as in, you often get kids who can't sit still and all those sorts of things. I'm a bit like that as well. But mentally, I'm like that. I can't sit still mentally, and I go in different. Now that can be a huge super strength, because it means I'm mega creative. I make connections with things all the time and all those sorts of things. But it's also quite debilitating sometimes, because it means that you don't really get anything done. It's very difficult to focus. It's very difficult to actually sort of stick to something and to stick to a routine. And we talked about this previously, and being rigorous. So one of the things I've learned actually is, as much as I kick against it, structure and routine is really important for people with a condition like mine, assuming I've got it. Actually, it really helps me, even though, so I go through this cycle of needing routine, knowing I need routine, getting routine, hating the fact I'm in a routine, breaking free of routine in order to then need to be in routine again. So it's a kind of really weird thing, but that's, I guess, my thing, right? So I've gone through this process. I'm in this kind of new world. I've learned some things about myself, having structure, and this is why our conversations, the rigor of them, and the rigor of the fact that the discussions that we're having, and me kind of relearning to a certain extent, but kind of rebuilding my going back into training, if you like, basic training around my PDS skills. This is working on me. And in order to, and if I can work on me, then I can then be a better version of myself, and then I'll hopefully have more success. Whether that's continuing down this road in the freelancing world, or it's going to a new career path, whatever it might be, it's always going to be beneficial. But it's having got out of that kind of rut, getting out of that sort of inertia and that kind of just downward spiral of chaos, emerging out of that now with a bit more structure, more focus, more direction, and then understanding a little bit more about who I am in order to then be a better version. That's where I'm going.
So you went from, what was the role in England golf you had?
I had a number, but the main one was coaching and talent pathways.
And then you went to Sports Coach UK, was it after that? Or did you go to
I had a year in the private sector, working for Power Play Golf, basically doing global business development. And then I went to UK coaching.
And what was your role there?
Talent pathways.
And then where did you go after that?
England rugby, player development.
Yes.
And then Sport England.
And your role there?
Head of coaching initially, and then strategic lead for workforce transformation.
So you've gone all these where you've seen the big picture, but you've seen these big slow machines and the struggle with impactful change. And now you haven't got a big machine, but you haven't got a machine. So now you're going in and says, well, actually, I can see you going over there. Let me upskill the driver, or actually, do you know how to navigate that machine you've got there, from the outside? But again, I think your challenge now is, like I've always been, is if people don't know about me, they're not going to go marking Yelpers. And also selling myself, it's such a monster is, how do you explain that in the elevator? What do they call it? The elevator, not speech, the elevator sell,
pitch.
Whatever it is. Yes, the elevator pitch. There you go. I can't even know the name of it. Never mind, do it. So it's those elements working through. So I think where my year, it's interesting because there's been normal progress, and obviously the members areas, the resource has been enhanced. I've been working. I'm still not up to the speed at working with pro teams and estates that I was before COVID. COVID killed all my business, and I'm still, from the States work in sport, at least, it's still slowly catching up. But obviously colleges over there, and then the netball, the hockey, the corporate, golf, especially continuing with Edge Golf College, Neil there, don't you remember from back in the day? So that's twice a year, helping there with their players and their management mentoring. And the corporate just started an initiative with a hockey club in Edinburgh. First day was 2 days ago. Got an initiative starting with a national water sports for the Olympics, start a new cycle with a country in Europe. Can't say which one yet. So there's a few of them going on, and all the individual coaches and mentors in soccer. What the other ones have got? Combat sports. And when it's so difficult when you know what they are until you look at your diary and you go, it's that one again, and then I check back. So there's quite a few of those working on, but I don't think that ever changes. It's just how can I have bigger impact than I'm having now? And my target this year is to work with a Formula One team. Williams would be my number one choice. But again, it's finding the person that has the influence to go, right, let's have a conversation to get you to the main people. And it's knowing who they are. I certainly see in Formula One, there's certain elements where even when you watch the edited versions, there's some there's some missing links with player judgment in understanding what to say, interaction, judgment of even the pit lane when they come out and how they're developing, strategizing, reviewing, reflecting. So I think there's elements in there that I can certainly enhance. So that's definitely a target for this coming year. Again, any Formula One team, but I just see Williams with the new person going in there and their drive and their vision. They're looking 3, 4, 5 years. They're not just trying to change in a season. That it makes sense that they're building something new, but they have the struggle with, as everyone else, having a lot of new personalities coming in. How do we embed the culture and the behaviors we need when we have such a turnover of staff? And I think that's where I can really add value.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, isn't it? Yeah, scale would be interesting. I'm just thinking about the various teams that you could work with, because there's a lot of them near me, yeah, some of them probably could really do with the help. The other thing to probably mention as well is that one of the places that I consult to, which is in the automotive industry, going to come and do some work with us eventually when we can actually get the date. We've had to move the date so many times because everyone's just like, they're always too busy. They've never got enough time to allocate things. So we're going to have to find a way to get them to just commit to being off site and actually just spend some time and focus on this, because I can see how necessary and impactful it would be. It just needs to have that initial go. And then I've got a few other clients that I'm working with currently as well that will benefit from your intervention at some stage. Just got to find the right moment in time, and all that sort of stuff.
So can I share, I haven't even shared with you, Stuart, the details of this sale initiative prize that we spoke about on WhatsApp. So
oh yes, that's right. Yeah, I forgot about that. We've got a special Christmas present. Yes.
So here's what we're going to do.
Christmas cracker.
Yes, but it's not so much a Christmas cracker. It will be a New Year revelation. So
okay.
Yes. So on our next Zoom, I'm going to share what you need to do to have a chance of winning a free one-to-one Zoom with me. And they start normally at £500 upwards. And the person that will get drawn first will get that plus 95% off the online members resource. The next 4 people will get 75% off. So here's what you need to do. Listen to the next fortnightly conversation we have here, and I will share with you exactly the things that you need to do to get entered. Once we get all the names entered, there'll be a timeline of 2 weeks to do those things. We live on our next fortnightly, we'll just put all the names in, pull one out of a hat, and then let you know, here's number 1 and here's the next 4. So there's something for you all to get excited about, to go, right, that's a non-negotiable for me to get some enhancement in my personal and performance development moving into next year.
Amazing. That is going to be well looked forward to. And I mean, that's a lot. That's going to be amazing for some people. I mean, as I said, I'm working through the members area myself, and each time I have to go. It's not one of those things that you can just go through really quickly. I'm going through it, and and making notes and references and capturing my takeaways and all those sorts of things. Just reading through some of the comments that people are putting in. There's some great people who I've worked with or been on my podcast and stuff like that who are reflecting publicly with others and sharing ideas and stuff like that. It's quite a rich conversation going on in the comments area. So it's definitely worth every penny, and so having access to that would at a reduced cost would be significant, and will be impactful for a lot of people, and will assist with, like your point around impact. And the one-to-one, well, bloody hell, that's definitely worth having. Kind of jealous, really. I mean, we get to do this, so it's fine, but
yes. And that can be on any subject that, they can share a video with me, go, right, can we work through that, whether it's a match thing or a corporate business situation. They're 100% confidential. They're not shared with anyone or on here unless you say, actually, I'm happy for you to share that. And the other point in the members area, Stuart, when you put in the comments box, every member can read those comments and interact. If it's an end of tutorial 3-question reflection, no one gets to see them apart from me. So they can be private and you can share things of your struggles. So there's options for both there, and you can literally comment on everything. But I think if you did a 9 till 5 every day, Stuart, I think and you just sat on there on your computer and you could watch it all back to back, I think it would take you 3 months to get through the content. Just permanently just doing that. So yes, it's not something you should just dip in and go, that's it, I've done it. It's certainly a resource to grow with. Yes.
Right. Well, I hope you and the rescue dogs have a excellent festive time. Do they get special treat meals on Christmas Day, or do they just stick with the same?
Every day's a treat meal for them. Yeah, every day.
And and I look forward to our next recording, which will be in 2025.
Yeah, have a good one. Obviously, not everyone's in the Christmas spirit like me. I'm quite a humbug, but if it's time off, enjoy it. If you're working, opportunity to pursue excellence. If you're with family and friends, go for it. If you like spending time on your own, make time for your own. Go out for a walk in the woods or whatever you want to do. So even use the Christmas break. If you go, right, I'm going to the in-laws, oh my God, I dread it. Is still pursue excellence. Okay, how could you frame that to make it as enjoyable as you can? How can you take a bit of private time? Do you want me to walk the dog for you? Whatever it may be. So again, it's still a mindset of pursuing excellence with the scenario you have within you. But whatever it is, hopefully it will enhance you ready for January.
Yeah. All right. Well, all the best, and I will see you in 2025.
Thank you.